like penises sticking out of walls. You're walking along and then you go, bonk! This is the way Roman cities were like. They sold these things on street corners. You know, this is what they were like. The place was totally pornographic. And I'm not celebrating it because it's kind of revolting. Or you go into a house and there's a huge phallus in the courtyard sitting in front of you as you walk in. You know, Pompeii was covered by ash and it was preserved the way it actually was. So, I mean, I kid you not. The word for there was a word for those things sticking out of buildings. Oh, God. I think they were called Hermes. H-E-R-M-E-S, like the god Hermes. I think that's, maybe, I think they're Hermes. Maybe it's Hermes, but I thought it was Hermes. This is the way things work. So I also told you about the flowers here. You see, they didn't want to be far away from the dead, he says on 14. So opposite, on a parallel hill to where the actual land is, so you have these tombs, like bulbs, like flower bulbs, he says, underground. So they built their cities on a narrow plateau or headland above the surrounding country. And then across the way, there was this necropolis world, because they didn't want to be that far away from their beloved ones. And he goes, he passes some women washing in a stream. And of course, he's always imagining these kinds of things as the meaning. Here's his view of women. Next page, I think 14. They are good-looking women of the old world with that very attractive look of noiselessness and inwardness. I've got to tell you. Again, I've done a lot of traveling, as you can see, but one of the worst things in the world, I guess you can see here in America, is meeting American tourists overseas. Now, I like Americans, I really do. I know Americans are great in their own environment, but they're awful out of their own environment. And now, don't get angry at me, you young ladies in the room, but the most sort of thing that hits you hardest, how should I put it, not strikes you, but grates on you, is that when you get in a group of Americans and the women are yakking at the top of their lungs. And the men are like, you said, no, come on, men aren't like that, American men. Go overseas, go overseas. That's all I can tell you. And I'm not trying to criticize anything, but I'm trying to do that to show you that this is exactly the opposite of what he likes. Now, I'm not saying he's perfect, but this is something, the attractive look of noiselessness and inwardness, you know. Just if you're a woman and you're overseas, or even in here, you know, maybe don't do that at the top of your voice, you know, at a table, so everyone in the restaurant can hear you, whatever it is that you're going on. Well, men do that too. You say, no, American men overseas are quite subdued, I notice. I agree here in a sports bar, they're pretty crude. But, you know, overseas they seem to be, they're kind of frightened. Anyway, take it for what it's worth. I don't, all generalities have exceptions and they fall apart, but they may be of some use to you. I'm trying to explain Lawrence, an inwardness which women must have had in the past, as if within the woman there were again something to seek that eye can never search out, something that can be lost but can never be found, something mysterious in the woman. It's not all hanging out there, you know. It's all something, you know, inward, something that he sees in these women. If you've been down to Mexico or places like that, you'll see women washing in streams in some places. And, I don't see what he sees. But, and the verbena we mentioned last time, you know, forget-me-nots, mignonette, the sweet scent, and then the boys, when he talks to them, the guys, you know, what's that flower? And what's the answer the boys give him?
Flower.
Florence. It smells, it stinks. Okay, that's the usual dumbbell answer. That's not what Lawrence wants to hear. He said, well, he's a jerk then. No, I'm not sure he's a jerk. And he can name the things like asphodel. Now, I'm not a special person. I can tell, I don't know what an asphodel is any more than you do. Now, I'm sure maybe 5% of you may know who like flowers. But I like the fact that he knows. You know, I find that impressive. I don't know if you guys find that impressive, that he can name the flowers. And if you could name the flowers, I think that you'd be a pretty impressive person too. So I wouldn't say that you should put that down. Maybe you should you know, take some lessons from him. Pink, spasmodic, and he goes on for a whole paragraph.